Crap keyboards in
Warning, this video contains harsh language. You're welcome. Hello and welcome to this review of my Feker Alice 60 wooden keyboard. I'm still not sure whether it's Feker or Feker, and I'm also not sure which is worse, to be honest. This unit was sent in by Epomaker. Cheers guys. This is part of the Ergothon I have planned, and it's the first one I actually got to use, as the previous one I covered was a vintage model that can't easily be connected to a modern computer. Now this is a waning video as you saw earlier, but in contrast to what you are, and what I certainly was, expecting, it isn't because of the ergonomics. In fact, the ergonomics are fine. The reason I went for this one first is that this is the most accessible of the models I have planned, and I wanted to build up the ergonomic intensity slowly so that I could more easily get used to it. You know, dial up the pain gradually, and it went pretty well at first, to be honest. I didn't think this was going to be a waning video until I dove a little bit deeper into the keyboard. Now, I should mention that although I've covered quite a lot of ergonomic keyboards by now, and therefore I'm familiar with the basics of what makes something ergonomic or not, I am, ergonomically speaking, a complete clown. So while I can cover things like build quality, switch feel, etc. very well, and can comment on some basic ergonomic things, you shouldn't take my opinion on ergonomics too seriously. I'd rather burn an ergonomic keyboard than use it anyway, generally speaking. And while we're on the subject of keyboard combustion, one reason why I agree to review this specific unit is of course that it's a wooden keyboard. And yes, it's actual real wood, not just a wood pattern or anything, which is super cool. I've designed a wooden case for a keyboard once, this one, which I call Project A, but this one is much more professionally done, and it even comes with wooden keycaps, which we'll take a look at in a moment. But first, let's take a look at the ergonomics. So this is a fully split keyboard. In other words, the keyboard consists of several completely separate modules, which allows you to get whatever angle and distance you want between them, in contrast to fixed split keyboards where it's just one unit and you have to deal with whatever split the maker decides on. However, there are no provisions for tenting, which is this, or slanting, which is this. The most ergonomically developed keyboards have systems that allow you to do this, but this one doesn't. Not that it's always necessary to begin with, of course, and neither does it have feet to adjust any angle on it, even the normal keyboard tilting. So I'd consider this to have, let's say, lower mid-level ergonomicity. That said, whenever any ergonomic keyboard is somewhat usable to me, there's always a few people in the comments that go, that isn't even ergonomic. So I fully expect to see the same thing here. And let's be honest, that would explain a few things, because, in ergonomic terms at least, I can use this keyboard without issues. There are some problems with this board, but none of them are really related to ergonomics, which is as much of a surprise to me as I'm sure it is to you. And all of them were very easily avoidable in the design phase, so someone definitely dropped some balls there. Anyway, I'll get to that and the concomitant rampant swearing in a minute. The key rows come with special curvature to better suit a hand, so it doesn't use the traditional strict rectangular shape of the alphanumeric block, but frankly I thought that this was fine. I had no issues adjusting to this at all. Not always being able to access certain keys with a specific hand was occasionally an issue. For example, if I wanted to press H in Tarkov to switch my helmet light on or off, I had to move my left hand a lot more than normal, but that's kind of to be expected, I guess. They were nice enough to duplicate the B key on both sides of the keyboard, by the way. That's a nice little extra, so I could still check and change my firing mode easily. It is very nice that they included a numpad module, and a gorgeous one at that, I should add. I really appreciate this, and because the three modules have magnets in the sides, you can rearrange this all however you want. You can have the numpad on the right or on the left, or even in the middle if that's what you want, see? Or you can just leave it off to the side somewhere and take it back whenever you need it. I really appreciate this inclusion, and I think I won't be the only one here. It does lack F keys, which is a shame, and it also doesn't include the keycaps for it, which again is a shame because that means you can't repurpose this key set on a keyboard that has F keys on it. They did include a full-length spacebar for just that purpose, but I think getting this set to fit properly on another keyboard in its entirety is going to be somewhat problematic anyway. I think some of these keys here are a bit non-standard in size. That said, I really like these keycaps. Not only do they look absolutely gorgeous, they feel fantastic as well. It's really very pleasant and they give you a great typing sound too. In addition to the standard typing test at the end of this video, I also plan to do a sound test on my 8-bit do with Zeal PC clickies, which is a proper sounding chassis with proper sounding switches, to show you what they're capable of. Honestly, I really like these. I don't think you can buy them separately, but if they did, I'd happily cover them in a video. The keycaps, as well as the keyboard, are made out of solid rosewood, which is a hardwood species with a beautiful red tint. They've got embossed gold-colored legends on them for that classic wood and brass look, and because they're made out of real wood, they've all got a unique pattern on them. Love this stuff, really cool. Anyway, to get back to the missing F keys, this is the first of the keyboard's problems, because they made a really stupid mistake here. Honestly, someone royally fucked up. So in order to access the F keys on the right side of the keyboard, you press Fn plus one of the number keys. That's fine, that's how it's normally done on keyboards without F keys. But on the left side, that doesn't work. You can't press the Fn key on the right board, you need to use the one on the left. But there is no Fn key on the left, so you need to press Ctrl instead. But that means that there is no way to press the left side F keys without also pressing Ctrl at the same time. So for example, F5 for refreshing a browser tab doesn't work, or Alt F4 for closing down an application, again it doesn't work. Now my question is, what colossal tap-dancing phallus thought that this was a good idea, and what testing crew let this get past the prototyping stage? But wait, there's more! If you thought that that was bad, this one's gonna floor you. So they added a bunch of hotkeys to the keyboard, such as switching to Mac and Windows layouts that are suboptimal, namely, respectively, Ctrl-S and Ctrl-A. So you can't use these combinations for the things they normally do. But guess what I find more important to be able to do? Save things and select all? Or switch to Mac and switch to Windows layout? Seriously, what bow-legged, canoe-cunted fuck-strumpet came up with this? By the way, some other combinations they fucked up similarly are Ctrl+T, Ctrl+G, and Ctrl+F. So no new tabs or find hotkeys for you. Instead, these control the backlighting, which is also crap quality now that we're on the subject. It's got that low output frequency that makes it look really ugly when you move your eyes over it quickly. Thankfully, you can't see too much of it through the keycaps because they're opaque, obviously, but what little you do see looks very cheaply made. By the way, another problem of these hotkeys is that I keep accidentally switching between Windows and Mac layout, and that fucks up these two keys here, as they swap when you do that, so I'm never sure which of these two the Alt key is. And if you're playing a game where you have to do some fairly precise inputs, like for example Abe's Odyssey, which I was replaying at the time, this gets you killed in games a lot. Not only that, they put them at really weird positions, and again, for no reason at all. They fucked it up just because they could. So again, gaming in particular suffers, because these positions are much less intuitive than the standard positions closer to the left that they normally occupy, and as an added bonus, this makes the spacebar harder to reach. Again, what constipated banana cunt thought that that was a good idea? It's so unnecessary. Why did they do it? Fucking arse-flavoured gobstoppers. Apart from stupid issues like this though, which were infuriatingly avoidable and which again aren't even ergonomics related, the keyboard was fine to use. This might be the most comfortable ergonomic keyboard I've ever used, and I know some people right now are saying to themselves, because it's not ergonomic, but whatever. I should add that in response to my claims, Epomaker have sent me some sort of updated firmware package for the keyboards. This new firmware isn't on any of the production keyboards, but you can install it. This fixes some of the issues I mentioned earlier because you're able to rebind functions like Ctrl+S to different shortcuts instead, and it does something with the left side control key as well, so that if you use it to make F keys, it doesn't output control anymore. Which is not 100% devoid of its own problems, I should add, because I don't think you want to mess around with control keys, but let's not dwell on details. You do need to download a specific firmware package for each module though, and you need to flash each module individually and in a specific order, or it's going to fuck them up, so be warned. Let's talk about the build quality now. The wood is lovely and it's CNC'd very finely with a beautiful polish. It's super smooth. Being dense wood, the keyboard feels pretty sturdy, not to mention fairly hefty. Minus the wrist rests, the 3 keyboard modules weigh, in total, just under 1.3 kilos. Or, in imperial units, 14.7931 corn dogs. Of course, there is a limitation to this. Wood, even hard species like rosewood, is more liable to denting and scratching than, say, plastic or steel. So cosmetically it is somewhat vulnerable, but in terms of actual structural rigidity, I'd say it's pretty damn good. In fact, there is zero flex in the chassis. It also comes with 3 wrist rests, one for each of the modules, and they're held magnetically to the housing. They're nice and comfortable. I guess wood is a good material for this, and they look really good. In fact, overall, I think this is an exceptionally good looking keyboard. A viewer asked me specifically to take this to the last meetup I went to, and I got really nice reactions there too. Another thing I'm a really huge fan of, which you wouldn't expect perhaps, is the cable. This thing is awesome. I'm going to make this my new standard cable, I swear to God. Apart from it looking really nice in red with metallic red connectors, it's got 3 leads, one for each of the modules, that all go into a single USB port. So I can test or use 3 things at once, like a main keyboard, backup keyboard, and lead macro pad, without having all extra cables in the way or them using up all my USB ports. And the connectors are nice and flat too, so they should fit inside all USB ports, even the ones with really narrow openings in the housing. Nice! Some more details: it's compatible with Windows, Mac and Linux, and it's also wireless compatible with the dongles stashed in the bottoms of the wrist rests, here and here. The switches for controlling whether you want wireless or wired, etc. is on the back, and I think they're made out of brass, which adds to the color scheme. You can only order it with one type of switch called Feker Petal, though it's of course fully hot swappable as well. Feker Petal switches are low-weight linears with an exceptionally flat force curve. They even out to the same as MX Red, but with higher preload and lower terminal force at 40 to 50 grams instead of 30 to 60, plus a slightly shorter throw of 3.6 millimeters. Now, I'm not sure why they went with linears really. You'd expect a typing-focused keyboard to offer a clicky or at least tactile switch, but maybe there's some ergonomic reason why tactility obliterates your wrists or something. I'm not sure why they went for this weighting profile, but they just feel like light linears to me, to be honest. It's okay though, they don't over-respond too much. There's nothing really else that's interesting to say about them, they're just another generic Cherry MX clone. Overall, despite the waning at the start, I think this is a pretty good ergonomic keyboard. It's a shame you have to upgrade the firmware to deal with multiple severe issues which any keyboard user worth their salt would have picked up on in under a nanosecond, and which would have been easily avoided if they used whatever mush they have for a brain while designing this thing. Plus, it still doesn't fix this weird clusterfuck at the bottom here, but overall, it's nice to use. For me, almost certainly the most comfortable and usable of all the ergonomic keyboards I'm going to show during this Ergothon. The final thing we need to talk about is the price. Now, ergonomic keyboards themselves, even the simple ones, are generally already extremely expensive. And on top of that, we got a wooden chassis and custom wooden keycaps. So, of course, the price is going to be astronomical, right? Now, in truth, it's $550, which is a lot, but considering it is a fully split ergonomic keyboard made out of wood with special wooden keycaps, a separate numpad, and 3 wrist rests, and they certainly didn't skimp on the finish, honestly, I think they priced it quite fairly. That's not to say it's not weird if you don't want to spend this amount of money on a keyboard, but honestly, I think that if you're going to market something like this, $550 is not an unrealistic amount, especially considering how beautifully it's made. I mean, I couldn't make something like this for less than 10 times the amount of money. To be honest, I wish they made this thing in a normal, non-ergo, full-size version. If they do, ping me. That's it for this review. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and following is a typing demonstration of me typing on this keyboard.